Welcome back to Road Miles. I'm Nick Peters. This is part 2 of Marathon Man. And you'll notice that today's recording environment is a little bit different because I decided to bring you on a live run. I'm actually going to run the 10K route that I normally run in the summer here at Pine Lake near the new Road Miles studio. In fact, the irony is that I've just finished renovations at the lake house to completely build out Road Miles studio. And I haven't even recorded it yet. It's an amazing acoustic space, beautifully paneled, fully engineered for sound, video. And I'm really looking forward to getting some episodes out from the new space. But I've also got some new gear with me, including the Insta360 X5 that I'm filming this run on, using some Rodecaster Rode Pro wireless microphones for audio, and strapped up with the K&F chest band. So we'll see how it all works. But I wanted to share my actual run with you and then share my thoughts in real time so that part 2 of Marathon Man could be a bit of a moving meditation. And so that it would allow me to spend some time sharing some thoughts with you as a runner while running. And to be honest, I haven't heard any other podcast or seen really any other videos where people do that. Certainly not where I've seen it done as a means of sharing, some deep thoughts or some personal stories or exploring topics that go to the themes of Road Miles. And what a better place to share some thoughts about running in part 2 of Marathon Man than on a run while running. Something that was new to me just a couple of years ago was running with other people and talking with other people while running. And I'd never done it before. And when I first started, I was worried, first and foremost, how will pace matching work? Turns out that's not a problem. People usually align either intentionally or subconsciously with the pacing of the slowest runner, which was me. But then I was also worried, how's talking going to work? Which, of course, is the same concern I have about this recording. I don't want you to listen to me huffing and puffing too much, but I also want it to be realistic. And I'll admit that half of this is a challenge just for myself in terms of getting the breathing right, seeing if I can have a conversation on Road Miles while running, just as if it was a conversation I'd be having one-on-one with you if you're running with me. So I'm going to take a moment to catch my breath here as I've warmed up and hit the first hill 1 kilometer in. But I'm looking down at my watch and I'm maintaining about a 5:30 per kilometer pace, which is great. I'm usually running this route at about just over 5 minutes a kilometer. So I think a little slower helps with the conversation. Full disclosure, I did this exact same thing yesterday, except I literally forgot to hit record on my separate audio track. Came back from the run, nothing. Extremely disappointed, but it's okay. It was a good dress rehearsal and tech run for today. But the other thing that happened that was really interesting and unexpected for me, because I had all this gear on, even though it's light, I think I was just self-conscious about balancing the camera or the mic even though that doesn't matter. It's all going to stabilize later. There was just enough of that awareness that I changed my gait without realizing it. And I must have been running a little heavier on the inside of the foot with a little less spring and bounce, just subconsciously enough to try to maintain the shot. And the crazy thing is, despite 7 weeks of back-to-back running with almost no rest days and zero pain to that point in time, like literally zero pain, I was in a terrible amount of pain last night, mostly in the arch of the foot, plantar fasciitis kind of area, inside ankle. I could barely walk when I got out of bed to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I'm trying this time to run a little more freely and consciously not change my gait. If it records well, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's amazing as runners how we take for granted all the factors that go into a good, healthy run, maintaining pace, feeling good, and preventing damage and injury. And just small changes in our gait or distracting ourselves with the wrong stuff can really impact that, especially at our age. Correction, my age, 40s. Back to the topic at hand, my second marathon. So like I shared with you last time, the first one was a real challenge. Hitting the wall was hard. Finishing it was harder. And I was exhausted right after the race. The crazy thing is, very soon after, I knew I wanted to do it again. I registered for the next year's, which was 2024. Sorry, 2025. Calgary Marathon, as soon as it became available. The difference was, my intention was to keep training and have no gaps, no off season, just a continuous straight through run from one marathon to the next. So that training readiness would either be, worst case, the exact same, or probable best case, incrementally or even substantially better. So, believe it or not, the day after the marathon, following some recovery time on race day, which involved an ice bath, some Advil, a delicious feast at my favorite Italian restaurant in Cochrane, I did a workout. It was on the bike, got onto the Peloton, did a 45-minute ride. Probably a mistake. Probably a leading indicator that I still wasn't taking rest seriously enough. That I was still responding to an internal compulsion to train. And somehow, maybe on a subconscious level, that I was afraid of what would happen if I did rest. But it felt good to get the lactic acid out, get a good workout in. Later that day, I took a walk with the dog and with my wife, and we just talked about the race, about wellness, about our goals for the rest of the summer. It was actually an amazing walk. And as spring moved into summer and we started spending as much time as possible out at the lake on weekends and during vacation, I just kept running. Typically 10K a day, just like I'm doing right now. And the amazing thing is, for the most part, my pace actually improved from the marathon pace, which was really rewarding for me. Other than the next marathon on the calendar, about a year later, didn't have specific training goals in the near term. I just wanted to feel like by the time that second marathon race day came around, I was locked in, fully trained, and that I wouldn't have that accelerated, overtrained, unprepared, painful, challenging feeling that I had the first time. As summer kind of moved into fall and work got busy in terms of travel for me, I was able to blend a lot of the work trips through both the fall and the winter months with warm outdoor long runs in places like Texas, Kansas, Missouri, even a couple of trips to Europe on deals that I was negotiating at work. Some of my favorite trails in the middle of winter were actually in an area called the Woodlands, just north of Houston, where I was often staying while traveling for work. I did some running in the dead of summer in Texas as well that year, which almost killed me in a different way. That kind of humidity combined with temperatures in the hundreds Fahrenheit, high 30s, early low 40s Celsius. It's actually quite dangerous unless you really pack on the salt. So that was good practice for me in terms of building up my heat resistance and really for the first time learning the importance of salt in my hydration, which of course I hadn't done properly during the first race. And I'm actually grateful to a running store called Fleet Street in the Woodlands that helped me experiment with a few different hydration products, and salts and electrolytes. Well, I found some that really work well for me. Now it's a combination of Relight and or Element. Element I like a lot because it comes in travel packs that I can always have in the work bag. Easy to tear the top off and pour into your hydration. Take a sip like this and get as much saline as you want. And when you combine that with water on the other side, and for a long run, plain water in the back and glucose with caffeine on this side, you have what I think is an unstoppable nutrition pack for any race. And so this setup that you see me with now, vest-based hydration, salt, sugar, water, that was something I started training with during that time, and I've never looked back. Even out on a 10K, I've got this vest with me at all times. I travel with one. You know, the convenience of the water is part of it, but also being able to mix the saline, have the water, or the glucose in the long run. Basically, in my mind, never again was I going to go through the nutrition shortfall and the pain that resulted in during a race. Speaking of nutrition, I want to take a couple minutes to talk about slop. So another concept that I started with during that 2024 late, 2025 early training and race season was slop. Something I refined right up to the present day, and it's basically my core nutrition. Most of the time, I only eat twice a day. I eat a pretty normal dinner, supper, usually around 6, 7, 5, 8, just depending on work day, kids' sports, family calendar, travel, etc. But it's, whole foods, vegetables, chicken, beef, fish, rice, potatoes, nothing too complicated. Other than that, the only other meal I eat is slop. I probably eat about 6 or 7 apples a day. No joke. So slop is something I make with Greek yogurt, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, hemp hearts, bit of honey or maple syrup, some peanut butter, and pink Himalayan sea salt. I stir it all together, keep it in a container. Usually don't eat it till about 11 a.m. I'm into the office or traveling, I take that bowl with me, have it ready. That takes care of my base nutrition no matter where I am or what I'm doing. And I also find that the intermittent fasting that comes with it, or what you could think of as time-restricted eating, is incredibly performance boosting for me, both cognitively and physically, but it seems to really help my metabolism too. Since I started doing stop and time-restricted eating, I've never had an issue maintaining the right body mass, and ultimately never felt hungry or weak, even training fasted. And training fasted can be hard if you do it too late in the day, like I'm doing right now. So the other benefit is it basically forces you to get your training done early. Coming back from a typical 10K, rehydrating is the most important thing. And then if it's, a work day, I'm tackling my hardest cognitive load for those first few hours between, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and 9 or 10. By 11, time to eat the slop. And if I'm on the go with various meetings, I just have that stuff with me. So getting that routine in place throughout that training calendar year was essential. So if, like me, your mind wanders and you're thinking about something that might be work-related, family-related, an obligation you got to tend to as soon as you get back, or that you should have dealt with before you left, you start getting that runner's FOMO. You know what I mean? That feeling where you're enjoying your run. You want to be doing it, but you're aware. You're aware of something else that's pending that you should be dealing with or that you want to as soon as you get back. I hate that, but I get it a lot. Do you ever get that? Do you ever have that runner's FOMO? You're in your run and you love it, but there's that time. It's a mix of time blindness and time awareness. You got to come back for someone. Well, if you do get that, then you probably also experience what I experience when I get to this branch, which is my little landmark for the U-turn right at the 5K mark. And that is just a bit of relief. Just a bit of quiet relief, knowing that you're finished with the outbound leg and you're coming inbound. And now you're actually in full control of getting back, quote unquote, as soon as possible, because it's just you and your pace. And if you want to do speed work, now's the time, because you don't have to worry about doubling back on your distance. You're just closing the gap to the finish line. And that's a technique I carried with me into the second marathon, which I'll talk about in just a second. First, I just want to recap a couple things about the rest of my winter training. So if you've ever spent time in the Rocky Mountains of Canada in the winter, or the prairies, you'll know that minus 20 to minus 30 Celsius, which I think is almost the same in Fahrenheit, is not uncommon. Plus wind chill into the minus 40s. Lots of snow, lots of ice. So when I'm running out on a road like this in the winter, if I'm out at the lake at the weekend, or one of the trails in and around Cochrane that skirt the Bow River Valley, there's going to be ice. There's going to be snow. There's going to be cold. So during that season, I learned a lot about the importance of winter running gear selection and settling on a gear kit that has been indispensable for me for winter running. And I'll share how I built it. It's not complicated. Started with some shoes that had good rubber lugs with some small metal spikes to account for ice. And they're Solomon. I'll dump those into the show notes in case you're interested. For the most part, they don't feel like runners. I'm on the Nike Pegasus Premium as we speak. And I would love if they had a winter version, because the cushioning combined with the structure of these Nike Pegasus Premium are my shoe. Just don't have a winter equivalent. The Solomons were terrific, but Still doesn't give you the same comfort, springiness, speed. But you're not necessarily looking for that all winter. You're just looking for something that keeps you safe and it prevents injury. And that they do well. Next step, really the most important step, was a base layer that preserves core heat. I've got physiological problems maintaining core heat as it is, and that's due to my Raynaud syndrome, pretty lean body mass, as well as some cardiovascular stuff that I've talked a little bit about that I can share with you more later. But it's very important for me to maintain a warm core. So I ended up getting a double layer of merino wool base layer, 300 count. It's made by Icebreaker and it's 100% New Zealand merino. Sometimes I just wear one of the layers. If it's really cold, I'll wear the two. It's surprisingly moisture efficient. And that's actually the most important part about the base layer. You want to get all that sweat off your skin and away from your body when you're running in that kind of cold. Lastly, you really want to shelter yourself with a windbreak that's also insulated, but that will vent that warm, moist air off the merino base layer or layers. So I went for some Gore-Tex tights, actual Gore-Tex, and I've got a combination of various insulated jackets that I'll wear, just depending on if it's a lighter shell kind of day where temperatures are close to freezing or above, or if it's a minus 30 wind chill kind of day where you need extra insulation. Combine that with some good knits, and again, merino beanie caps and snow goggle sunglasses, and you're set. So that was my in Canada winter training kit. It was all brand new to me that year. And it allowed me to keep running throughout the winter. One of my favorite training runs during this time was actually New Year's Day, January 1st, 2025. One of the New Year's resolutions that I'd actually made the night before was to start that year with an outdoor long run. And I did, and it was fantastic. Got up early in the morning. It was a cool, but just below freezing kind of day in January with sun. Unfortunately, the trails were pretty dry. Anyways, that New Year's Day run was special. The sun was coming up. I could see snow on the Rocky Mountains towards Kananaskis, Banff, and Canmore. And it was reflecting back in pink with the sunrise. When I got back to the house, family was just waking up. We enjoyed a New Year's Day brunch. I remember thinking, this is the first time I have run every week, most days, throughout a fall and winter. And I liked it. I realized for people who run marathons, quote unquote, training actually never ends. There should be an off season. There should be some rest and some different workouts mixed in. And I did that. I also rode the bike as I normally do in the winter, especially when I'm in Auckland, not out at the lake, where at the time I had my only Peloton. And I did focus on resistance training and weights. A lot of work on quads, glutes, abs, obliques. Just the whole posterior chain, but also upper body, lats, pecs, shoulders. And, I think runners used to worry about overdoing it with the resistance training, even in the off season, for fear of bulking out in a way that would actually impair speed on race day. But just from my own experience and what I think the running community has learned, it's actually the opposite. Unless you're truly cosmetically bodybuilding, any resistance you're going to do throughout that off season is going to return to you 10x the benefits in control, speed, even endurance. Yeah, there's more muscle cells to haul down the track, but there's more muscle cells propelling you down the track and taking turns with fueling the fire. So you're getting an efficiency gain when you weight train at the same time that you keep up your running. That's actually something I've fallen behind on this summer. I'm very heavy into the outdoor running, and just due to time constraints, haven't matched that up with a consistent enough approach to weights. So I'm going to start that this week, especially now that I've got a newly renovated home gym here at the lake with a great weight training area looking out at the water. So as winter kind of progressed into early spring, I found myself getting ready for race day with a renewed focus on nutrition as well. I already talked to you about the setup for saline, glucose, water. Something I did right up in the 3-week to 3-day cutoff before race day in May of 2025 was to really boost those glycogen reserves by simple carb loading. Lots of good complex protein, fiber, nuts, vegetables, seeds, grains. But my ultimate favorite, intensity for carbohydrate loading, especially in the 10 days prior to the race, was homemade sourdough bread. So my wife ended up creating a hobby of artisanal baking. And her sourdough makes me feel incredible. The gut health benefits, the microbiome benefits, the metabolic boost that I get from eating that sourdough far exceeds and is actually even more than the caloric carbohydrate benefits of the bread itself. But both were essential to me in my pre-race nutrition. So in the week before the race, I'm not sure Stacy could keep up with my demand for 1 or 2 fresh loaves a day. But she tried, and it was delicious. And that's mostly what I ate before the race, in addition to my slop, including on race day. Some delicious toast, peanut butter, sprinkled with pink Himalayan salt at 4 o'clock in the morning on race day, and a small portion of the slop. So another factor leading up to the actual second marathon was overtraining. I continued to do it, and I didn't give myself enough rest prior to the race. I might have taken 1 or 2 rest days. One of them was when I got the flu in the middle of winter. I had a fever one day, couldn't train at all. That, again, was a mistake. And I've shared thoughts about compulsivity in runners. Clearly, intellectually, I understood that if I took some rest before the actual race day, I'd have energy reserves and speed that I could really benefit from. But I didn't do that. Reduced my mileage a little bit. Probably ran 5K the day before the race. It should have been 1 or none. Another thing I did was try to bank my sleep. With pretty good success, actually. Really focused on early bedtimes for a few weeks before the race. I was stressed the night before the race, and just like the first marathon, didn't sleep well. The only problem is I was fighting it, trying to over-control it, which of course becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So my honest and best advice is just know that if you're that kind of person like I am, you're not going to sleep before the race. So don't worry about it. Try to bank what you can in the days and weeks prior. And know that it's okay to have a less restorative night. Because if you just accept that, you're going to be less stressed. You won't overthink it. Surprise, surprise. You'll actually sleep much better. So that's on my list for the future. On the race day itself, It was cold, it was windy, and it was wet. And I progressed through the first quarter of the race, the hill section, with a lot of speed. And I felt actually pretty refreshed because of the lower temps. When I got to the big stretch that is immediately before the turnaround on the out and back, kind of close to halfway, it was challenging getting into the driving rain and wind. And I was feeling the weather. But shortly after the U-turn and just past the 21K mark, I remember thinking, I haven't hit a wall yet. I'm not sure I will. Of course I did. About 5 kilometers later. Same wall. And it's in the same place, even though the weather was different. But I can tell you, the experience was 1,000 times better. And I think it's just the sum total of all the stuff I just told you about. My nutrition was dialed in. Had the right mix of saline, glucose, water. I'd banked a bit of sleep. The gear was responsive to the cold and the wet, but temperature was on my side. I do well when it's cool. Direct sun, even at a lower temp, somehow zaps my energy. I have trouble maintaining pace when there's sun shining on me. If it's overcast and cool, you can guarantee a 30% boost on my race pace or more. And that's what I experienced. As I kind of pushed through the wall without fully realizing it, I found myself on the lower deck of the Center Street Bridge, getting into the East Village of Calgary, closing in on the final 3 kilometers of the marathon. And just like it has here talking with you, I think my mind wandered. I might have gone into some kind of flow state through the back half of that wall, but it was like autopilot. And I'd never experienced that in really any run that degree. And obviously it was only my second race. But wow, to realize I was in the final 3K and that according to my watch, I was ahead of pace. That gave me some afterburner rocket fuel kind of shit. And I started sprinting. I don't think I had trained to do that. Probably wasn't even fully aware I was doing it. But the music I was listening to on the playlist hit some 80s power ballad that had always given me a boost at just the right time, purely by coincidence. I was in shuffle mode on the music. So the last 2 kilometers of the race, I think I was getting down to a 4.5 minute kilometer pace, which was basically impossible for me in training. Had never done it. So I just kept going. I thought, at this point, what have I got to lose? Even if I cramp up or flame out somehow, I'm gaining the time as I go. Let's just redline it until I collapse. And so I did. I redlined it around the final turn into Stampede Park, past the Inglewood Bridge, and I could literally see the giant finish line with its inflated arch. And the rain was falling. There was a great crowd vibe, lots of cheering friends and family, of everyone there, my family there as well, parents, Stacy and the kids. And I just flew through the finish, immediately collapsed, had some cramping, and of course immediately went into some cold shock because of the thermal regulatory issues I was talking about earlier. Stacy went into full first responder, first aid mode and got me under some insulated emergency blankets, got me some warm liquids, helped me get wet socks off. And within no time, the blue nail beds and the early signs of shock that she had noticed were subsiding. And it was at that point that I started checking my own metrics, my watch, my phone. Couldn't quite believe it, but I was seeing finish times that if they were right by the chip, were way ahead of what I thought they would be. And sure enough, when the chip time came in, it was 3 hours and 26 minutes. Far and away a personal best. Well below the goal I'd set for myself of sub 4. And honestly, having struggled to finish that first race, sub 4, and in my mind having failed to do that, anything with a 3 was cause for celebration. But the fact that it was under 3.5 at my then age, which would have been 42, was thrilling. I felt so good. We celebrated with a family brunch, spent time recovering in a combination of ice baths and hot tubs. Slept really well. Went to work the next day after doing, you guessed it, another ride on the Peloton. And I also started thinking about training again for the 3rd Calgary Marathon, a year away in 2025. So I wanted to share that as part 2 because I think it's a window into the fact that I changed a few things, but a lot of my core personality traits didn't change. I tinkered with nutrition, which had been a real need for improvement. I perfected my training gear, and I kept training so that there was no lag or compressed window. Those were wins, and those translated into the personal best that I got. So did the weather, right? That cool temperature. It was a lot, but I was grateful. What I didn't change was my all-out obsessive approach to it. You could count the number of rest days I took between the first marathon and the second marathon on 2 fingers. In fact, I think you could count it by raising 1 finger, the finger of your choice. And for that, I paid a price as well. A price that I'll talk about in part 3, because it's a lesson that I'm still learning over and over again. And it's a lesson that contributed to an outcome over the following year and the 3rd of my 3 back-to-back marathons that has since changed my life from a health perspective, in some ways irreparably, but also for the better. And interestingly enough, shortly after that second marathon, when I started writing about it, just as a form of personal therapy, but also as a record that I wanted to bring to my own therapist to talk about. That was the theme I explored most. The theme of running too far, not taking a rest, not knowing what an off switch is. The internal battle during an out and back in terms of where does that U-turn sit. The U-turn I just showed you sits there for a reason. I need rules around out and backs. Otherwise, I go out and have a hard time coming back. So these are all thoughts and themes I want to keep exploring with you on part 3 of Marathon Man, and I'm really looking forward to it. We'll decide if that's another live run together or some time with a coffee in the new studio here at the lake. But for now, that boat trailer you see in front of me, that's my stretch lab. That's where I'm going to do all the stretching that I know is important in my life. So until next time, on Road Miles, I want to thank you for joining me, and thank you for trusting me with a slightly different approach to podcasting, video, with this live run. I hope it wasn't too hard to follow. I hope you felt like you read them with me. And if you get a chance, take this and run with it. Go out for a run yourself and listen to it again. If some of the stuff I just told you about resonates and you've got ideas to share from your own experience, I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a note, nick@roadmiles.live, or through any of my social media channels, which are all Road Miles or Road Miles Podcast on YouTube. Thanks very much and stay safe. We'll see you next time on Road Miles.